A way you can tell the PC Engine has hit the big time, or bigger time, is that in 1990 we start seeing busy release days. February 23rd had 5 games for the PC Engine, the heaviest release day so far, and it's still growing. I'm kicking off my February 23rd coverage with the New Zealand story, and for some reason, New Zealand is all one word. The New Zealand story was one of Taito's better regarded arcade games of the late 80s. It was building on a lot of concepts from Bubble Bobble and Fairyland Story, mainly having a cute protagonist, stages where you could freely move up but not down, and defeated enemies always giving you something to chase after. The plot of the New Zealand story is... well, I'm not reading that aloud. No way I could keep up. The gist of it is Tiki's a Kiwi living in a zoo, and one day Pui Pui and all of Tiki's other Kiwi friends are stolen by a leopard seal. And that's all the reason you need to go on an adventure to get them back. The names Tiki and Pui Pui, by the way, are actually Maori words. A tiki is a little figurine worn as a pendant, and I am assured that a Pui Pui is a ceremonial garment. I suspect that one got mangled a bit going to Japanese and then English. The goal on every stage in the New Zealand story is to get to the caged kiwi. And yes, all the kiwis are yellow for some reason in this game. Button 1 will jump, and Button 2 will attack with your weapon. You start every stage with a bow and arrow, but there are some alternate weapons that can drop from enemies when you shoot them. All defeated enemies drop something when they die, though in some cases they don't die until they hit the ground, so you might have to follow them down to find out what you get. Some enemies fly in on something. They can be standing on balloons, birds, flying saucers. If you kill the enemy, and not what they're riding, then you can take it for yourself, standing on it and pressing button 1 to fly up. You'll slowly float down if you release button 1. That float downward is a trick you can do without a balloon, but you have to mash button 1 while you're falling to do that. If you need to get off of an object you're riding, just press and hold down, and then hit button 1. What you are on will even stick around if you want to get back on it. For the most part, there isn't a lot of difference between the objects you can ride. The larger balloons can get shot a few times without popping, and that's indicated by their color, while some of the others can fit through smaller gaps. As for the items the enemies drop, the most common is fruit, and that is just worth some extra points. For the weapons, you can get the bow, which is your default. Bombs, which are thrown in an arc, is not a bad option for hitting things that are just out of your reach. But really, the best weapon is the laser gun? Ray gun? Well, it's a gun of some kind and it shoots a beam. This shot goes through walls, which makes it by far the best option for dealing with enemies. There's a few more power-ups that drop. A pocket watch will freeze all enemies in place. That includes preventing them from spawning in through those doors that just appear anywhere. The symbol that looks exactly like the turbo boost from Chase HQ is a speed up that makes you move a lot faster. Unfortunately, a lot of the stages in the New Zealand story require some extreme precision, so the speed up actually is a bit of a debuff in this case. When you get a joystick, for the next flying object that you get onto, you don't have to press button 1 to make it move up. Instead, it'll just go in whatever direction you push on the D-pad. This effect goes away as soon as you get off of what you're riding, so if you hop off and hop back on, you're back to using button 1. There's one more type of movement you can do in the New Zealand story, and that's swim through the water. Tiki has an oxygen meter that depletes as you're underwater, and slowly builds up when you're on the surface. They also gain a special attack when they're on the surface, firing a jet of water at an angle upward. There are 20 stages in the New Zealand story, and every 4th stage has a boss. You deal with those bosses in the time-honored method of shooting them in the face a whole bunch until they die. The closest they get to having tricks is the first boss is a whale that will swallow you, and then you shoot it in the stomach a whole bunch until it dies. You have 3 lives when you start out in the New Zealand story, and you get 2 continues. And that's it. You have to beat the whole game with that. There's no cheat codes for the PC Engine version. While the New Zealand story definitely has fans in Japan, almost every comment on the PC Engine version I could find was to play one of the other ports. Perhaps the most cutting comment I could find was from one of the developers of the arcade version, who mentioned that they told the developers of the PC Engine version about gameplay elements that needed tweaking, and all of their feedback was ignored. Now personally, I like the New Zealand story, and I think the PC Engine version is a decent port. Not the best port, I'd probably go with the Mega Drive version for that, but a respectable port. It is a brutally difficult game. I couldn't get to the end of Stage 8 while I was playing. There's also a game where you can both learn the patterns and have enough leeway to adapt on the fly, so you'll keep making just a little bit more progress with every attempt. My least favorite thing in this version is the way that the doors can appear right on top of you, because with some enemies that's instantaneously fatal. And similarly, there's traps that feel like they act on a long delay just to lure you in when you decide that they're not going to do anything after all. What works for me in New Zealand's story is that there's a lot of movement options, and a very high skill ceiling as a result. I find the New Zealand story to be a perfectly fine platforming game for the PC Engine. It's not really a top-tier game, but it fits in just below that.